People of the Purple Butterfly here, otherwise known as People of 7 on Twitter and YouTube, people elsewhere on the internet. My blog is located at purplebutterfly-people.blogspot.com, and my soaps, Purple Butterfly Soaps, can be located at people.etsy.com, and my t-shirt designs, purplebutterfly-people.tmail.com. And the chef soap is in the mold on the floor by the sink with a box over it, because that particular mold is the exact width of my oven, which means I can't stick it in the oven this way, and if I turn it this way, I can't close the door of the oven. If I put it on top of the stove, well, I have a person that has dementia here. I don't want them to wander in and go, well, it smells nice, and so things that could be really dangerous, I always make sure it's out the way. But when I did the measurements for that mold, years ago, I kind of forgot how much that particular mold holds. I was thinking it was 4 pounds. Turns out it's a 5-pound mold. So when I did the volume, I leaned towards less as opposed to more, because I didn't want to deal with overflow, and I still prepared an overflow mold or two just to be sure, because I figured, hey, just go for volume. Now that brings me to subtracting 4 ounces out of the palm oil. That was for a different mode, my tall narrow mode. So when I created that recipe, it was with that particular mode in mind, without having to use an overflow. So when simplifying recipes, anytime you could just use a container that's already pre-measured, so forth and so on, and put that in your calculator, that's much easier. My original recipe wasn't based on which mold I used, it was based on how much soap it would make. My original recipe was 1 container of palm oil, and at that time it would say Spectrum Organic Palm Oil. It didn't say organic all vegetable shortening, and then you have to look all the way to the back in a very, very teeny writing where it says, contains certified sustainable palm oil, because they're trying to get away from the stigma of palm oil. As long as it's sustainable, I got no problem with it. This is a good source of palm oil, and the container is convenient. This is 24 ounces. This is 16 ounces by weight, is the Morel Snowcap lard. And the only other lard I've ever seen is Manteca or Manteca, and the container it comes in is, it's hard to deal with. It's got like when I take the plastic off of here, pop it open, I'm in there. The other lard brand, you take the plastic off, this seal here, then you take it, and then you have to take something sharp and cut open a plastic seal, because there's no way to pull it off. If you're in the middle of making soap, the last thing you want to do is fight with your containers. So that's when I got this. When I opened this, it's kind of neat too. I saved these liners. That's it. It's solid at room temperature. This is if I was to use this to line a small mold, the soap will slip right out of there. It's like a parchment paper. And it goes in this handy, convenient size box. So the only thing I have to do after that would be to get a 14 ounce or 16 ounce, depending on, if you want to just do completely, hey, I got this, boom, let's put it together. just make sure you put it in your light calculator so you could do your adjustments. Okay, that being said, I can't use olive oil because there's someone around me with an allergy to olives. I don't use coconut for this particular variant because the people that are allergic to coconuts, I want them to still be able to use it. I do use palm oil in place of the coconut oil. If someone has a problem with, palm oil, let me know. I'll make you one with coconut oil or mango butter or, something different, just not shea, because I'm allergic to shea. If I even walk in a room while someone's using shea on their skin, I will gag and asphyxiate. So it's not like they're going to sneak a substitution in. But let me show you how this changes out. Okay, so instead of scooping 4 ounces out, so, because that measurement was just so it could fit into my mold. This is the oil that could be compromised. This had to go in there because lard makes a hard base and produces sudsing. 4 ounces removed from the palm oil wouldn't have made a difference, and then you needed the canola oil, to keep it soft, because you have hard, you have to add a soft so that way the bar is not crumbly by the time you're done making the soap. So you have to have a soft oil in there. So, and then you can just add the 2 ounces in the form of, fragrance oil or super fatting or whatever. So it still ends up being a 79.0 ounce batch of soap, or 80. You might have to scoop a little bit into an overflow mode. We'll go over overflow modes. Well, say for instance, this is the only mode I got, this is the only mode I got, but I have enough soap to also fill this. Well, if I'm already planning for these modes and then I do something fancy like add color, add extra super fatting, add extra fragrance oil, so forth, so on, then when I fill up these 2 modes, I'm still going to have soap left over. So then you use like an overflow mode to catch that little bit of extra so it don't harden in your pot, because it's usable. You might end up with a smaller mode or a smaller presentation that becomes your personal bar, but yeah, that's what an overflow mode is. It catches the overflow. Anyway, let's go over the new measurements if you want to make the soap be a perfect 80 ounce, well, 79.0 to 80 ounce, batch of soap. You're still going to need 14 ounces of canola oil, 16 ounce box of the lard, a 24 ounce container of the palm oil. It's already at the measurements. I do the same thing when I have a large batch of coconut oil too. I just readjust to the measurements of the container, and then I throw that into the calculator, and that gives me 7.15 ounces for the sodium hydroxide, or the NaOH, otherwise known as lye, and 17.80 for the liquid. The Chef soap I use coffee in, but you can also use water. You could use certain juices. You could use milks. It has to be a liquid. If you use a milk, for like goat's milk or yogurt or, whatever you're doing that is not water, please freeze it first into chunks like ice cubes, so that way you can add it a little bit at a time and sprinkle the lye over it. Stir, sprinkle, that way it doesn't burn and turn bright orange and then that murky color. So, because that way your soap will end up being, instead of a creamy white color, which is desirable, to a light tan, which is desirable in milk soaps, it'll look brown and burnt and smell like it, because lye cooks. Okay, now that gives you 5% superfatting and a yield of 79.0 to 80.0 for the entire batch size. See, that's how we got that. Now, I also took the liberty of writing over here FO 2 ounces. Now, if you're going to put a fragrance in there, a light fragrance is 1 ounce. In other words, you could have a 1 ounce sample bottle. It will still scent that soap. It doesn't tend to be light, but it will scent it. Or if you want a strong scent, add 2 ounces. And that will give you a perfect 80 ounce or 5 pound batch of soap. The mode I was using was 4 point something. It was 74 ounces. It was this much room at the top. And I could have just completely filled it up. That would be a complete 80 ounce. But then I couldn't put anything over it, like, a top or anything. I had a rubber band thing, old headband, holding it together in the middle. See the video previous, because the bolt of that particular mold is missing. If I filled it up to the top with the way I had it anchored in the middle, just so it wouldn't bevel out or leak, because it needs those 3 bolts or those 3 containments, lye would eat completely through the rubber in that headband and the fiber that was holding it, so it would go, and your soap might go with it, which is why I reduced it. That and the tall narrow mode that I used to use along with it, those both had the same measurements. So I would make that size for the one and then that size for the other. They just had different shapes. The tall narrow, you have tall narrow and you have standard. You could either cut a standard as to certain measurements and then flip it over, and you could cut the tall narrow to 1 inch and get the same thing and put the two together, and they're literally the same size. It's just the format. One's a wide pour and the other's a narrow pour. So that's why the measurements were different. So basically, if you have a 74 point something batch and you're going, well, that would be better as a 80 pound batch, all you have to do is adjust how much of the oils or whatever. Or if you have a soap calculator like mine, get your base recipe, then go down to where it says yield, click it, type in 80, click go, and it readjusts everything for you, along with your new calculations for the lye, new calculations for the liquid, so forth and so on. So if you want it to be just as simple as it could be, get stuff that's already pre-packaged in a certain size. See, this is 16 ounces by weight all day long. This is 24 ounces by weight all day long. It doesn't matter how much air done got in there, if it's settled, all that, it went by weight. So if you measure it by weight, it's always going to come out the same way, by weight. Like the lye, a lot of people do their lye in grams and then do their water in ounces. I don't do that. I got it set by weight. The weight scale is pounds, so that gives me this number, point that number, but it's still accurate. If you have to adjust it or round it off, round higher on the oils, lower on the lye. That way, if it's off a little bit, you have enough oils to saponify with the lye, so that way you don't have anything lye heavy or over the top. Like if you have too much lye and not enough oils, you're going to have harsh burning soap. If you have too much oil but not enough lye, it might be a little greasy, it might be more moisturizing, but you still have a good product. And then at the end of the day, you can always sop off extra oils. You can't get rid of extra lye. If you have a lye heavy batch, too much lye in there, you have to put it in your crock pot, add some water, add maybe some more oils, and cook it until it is safe. And if it's too far gone, you have to neutralize it and toss it. Soaping can be an expensive hobby, so you do not want to have to toss anything. So if you have to round your numbers, round lower for the lye, higher for the oils, not the other way around. Oil, lye. So thought I'd bring you up to date on that. If you try the recipe original, just remember to use a scale. I get mine by Knott's Right. I'll look it up and put it in the description box, but just type in soap scale and you'll find a very accurate one. Don't go getting a food scale or whatever. Get one that's specifically made for soap or guarantees it's accurate to this amount or point blah blah blah. Just get a soap scale. I have a little soap scale this big over there, and then I have the big one in the kitchen. I'll make a video on those two. You've probably seen them in several of my soap videos. Not by Rights. I got the receipt and the box actually. I don't throw anything away. So I'll make sure you have that information because it's the most accurate scale I've come across. But then you can just take this. I mean, literally, I can put the box for this that's empty on my scale, tear it out, then stick this on there, and it'll be 16 ounces. Even if you see a little gap in there from where it kind of melted in shipping or whatever, it's still 16 ounces. This will always be 24 ounces. You know, that way you put it through your calculator, you get an accurate measure, you decide what you want for super fatting, because you can control. I mean, I do 5% for this recipe because it's a chef soap. I could do 20%, I could do 11%, I could do whatever percentage I want. But I want it to be sudsy, moisturizing, but not overly greasy because it's a highly cleansing soap for removing odors and stuff off your skin, because it's for, you know, it's not made for moisturizing. For moisturizing soaps, I go with as high as 15% on the super fatty. But I do use ingredients that will nourish and moisturize anyway, so that way it's not harsh, you know. So get yourself a good lye calculator. Mine is by Brambleberry. I have another one that's on this phone that was default. It was like the first soap calculator I ever seen. I paid $3 for it, so I'm not going to throw it away even though I bought the Brambleberry one, because I know Brambleberry. I buy Brambleberry oils and supplies, so yeah, they're better. You can also get one from the Sage. Every place that you buy soap supplies might have a soap calculator on their website, and then they might have a standalone that you use with your app. So I'm going on 20 minutes when I only meant to go on 5. I'm tired, I'm sleepy, I'm fed. All thing I gotta do now is take my medicine and go to bed. And I put off taking my medicine today because I wanted to get the soap out the way, because those medicines will knock me out. So y'all stay blessed, stay tuned. This has been People7 on Twitter and YouTube, People elsewhere on the internet. My blog is located at purplebutterfly-people.blogspot.com. My soaps, Purple Butterfly Soaps, is located at people.etsy.com. And my t-shirt designs, purplebutterfly-people.tmail.com. www.thebrightlife.com. Y'all stay blessed, stay tuned. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Bye now. I gotta go turn down that heat too. She got it up to 90. I mean, really. Bye-bye.